I listened to the record a couple times through, and just on first listen, I'm just blown away.
Wow.
It is, for one, it's not what I expected. I know you've probably gotten that a lot. It's not what I expected, but in a very good way. For one, your vocals are just through the roof good. But I wanted to ask you, though, this is your first debut record, 25 years in Styx. Why just now doing a solo record?
Well, first, thanks for the compliments, man. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
I never envisioned doing something like this, to be honest with you. I mean, I always assumed that I would do some sort of instrumental fusion project,
Sure.
as probably that's what most people would expect from me as well. But, I just played on a couple instrumental records, including Antoine Feffard's Borromean Odyssey, which was incredibly challenging and difficult music. So that it had been scratched for the time being, and my old buddy J.K. Harrison had been sort of harassing me for a number of years to do my own record with him, and I always blew him off, thinking that, I would say, that's cute that you think that I can do this, but, thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
So he really believed in me when I didn't, and kind of held my hand through the whole process. And, he just hit me at a time when I was going to be in Los Angeles for a week, and I had some time off. And I thought, okay, let's get together and see what happens. And by the second day, I could see things were unfolding and formulating very quickly. We wrote the song Last Flight Home, I want to say that second day, in about 30 minutes.
Wow.
Just lightning back and forth between
Wow.
the two of us. And it was just one of those magic moments where the song, was largely done. You wish it was always that easy.
Yeah.
And, I started to see this thing unfold naturally and organically. And I thought, let me just get out of my own way and see what happens here. And the fact that that I was never comfortable singing, and never really done so in a lead singer capacity.
Yeah.
That absolutely terrified me. And I thought, well, maybe this is where I need to be. I need to be doing this, because doing something safe and cozy didn't seem exciting at the time. And this seemed like I was setting sail on some dark, choppy, uncharted waters. And I kind of like that.
Yeah, and you talked about the title track. I mean, obviously that's the first record, and the lyrical content of that song is very, very relatable. I mean, especially obviously for you, somebody Styx is one of the heaviest touring bands around, so I mean, that song makes perfect sense. I feel like is that part of why that song came so quickly? Is you just started writing that and it was just an easier topic to write about?
Well, it seemed that, I never have much of a problem flying out to begin a run.
Yeah.
But coming home seems to be a litany of broken planes and inclement weather and delays of one sort or another. And, when you have a family, those hours that you miss hurt just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I know no one likes to hear a rock musician complain, but anyone who travels for their livelihood can relate to that on some level. I went out and I did the work. I was gone for 20 days. I just want to get home. And in some cases, I'm only home for 3 days before I have to turn around and leave again.
Man.
So, those missing hours hurt just a little bit more.
Yeah, and I can't relate to it as on the level that you and all of you guys do, but I mean, I photograph concerts and sports, so during heavy seasons, I'm on 3 or 4 or 5 nights a week easily, and it's like, I may get to come home, but it's still like, you're missing so much, and you're gone so much, that it's like, you want it to slow down, but you don't want it to slow down, and when it slows down, like right now, you don't know how to adjust to being home, and then you go out again, and it's like a vicious cycle. It's not easy. I mean, it's really not.
Well, everything is trying to achieve some sort of balance. And, you know, you can kind of break that down into various microcosms of everything is actually trying to achieve the balance. So, yeah, I mean, it is peculiar being home now for whatever, 75 days or whatever it's been, something like that, at this point. You know, on the other hand, I've been, a touring musician for 24 years, so I kind of like being able to see my daughter grow up in one chunk, as opposed to, you know, when she was little, I'd leave and I'd come home and, oh, look, teeth, you know.
You can talk now.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the way it was for a long time. So, you know, in our household here, we're dealing with it very well, and we're sort of homebodies by nature, so that also helps. But yeah, everything's about balance.
And you talked a little bit about, you know, stepping into the lead singer role and how terrifying that was. I mean, you kind of also have the advantage that you're in a band with two guys, Tommy and Gowan, who sing lead vocals on numerous songs, and JY steps in and sings a lot too. Did you kind of talk to them a little bit about, you know, what do I do? Or, you know, talk to them a little bit about advice on stepping into a lead singer role?
You know, I never brought it up to them because I largely did this whole record under cover of darkness. My mother didn't even know that I was doing this record, if I'm totally truthful.
Nice.
Because there was part of me that doubted myself and wasn't sure that I was actually going to carry the ball into the end zone with this project, because it seemed so unlikely for me to embark upon an endeavor like this that I still was mystified by the whole thing as I went through it, the process. It really wasn't until we started mixing the record that I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to happen. I'm going to go through with this. It's good enough that I can stand behind this,
right,
and put my name on it. And that was really the goal. It was sort of a grand experiment to see if I could pull off something I wasn't certain that I could do. So I didn't ask those guys. And my wife is a brilliant singer, Taylor Mills. She's
on it, yeah.
Yeah, she sang in Brian Wilson's band for 12 years with some pretty incredible singers there too. So, but I've been fortunate that I've since I was a little kid working with great singers, a lot of different singers, listening to a lot of different singers, and that, you know, really made an indelible mark on what I was trying to do with what abilities that I had, and with some of the abilities that I was able to find through producing it with J.K. Harrison, who's a great singer himself.
And you've talked you talked a little bit in the past, and I've read you talked a little bit about having the perspective of the drums when you're being the lead singer, and how that kind of affected you a little bit, and how different that was. I mean, what was that like when you're the singer, and that relationship between yourself and the drummer, also being yourself and, you know, being the drummer and the singer how did that affect you, and what was that dichotomy like?
Well, you know, everything, even with singing, has a rhythm, even if it's a phrase, how long you're holding the notes, where they land, how that works with, you know, the rhythmic motion of any of the other instruments that are playing at any particular moment. But for me, as a drummer, I had the unique experience here where I actually did probably 90% of the vocals before I even did the drums.
Okay.
So I recorded it backwards in that way. So by the time that I was able to do the drum tracks, there were I knew what I was going to do, and there was a few moments where I thought, oh, I could kind of throw in this little type of thing here. This would be a moment for a nice little drum lick. And then when I went to do them, they seemed to be yanking me out of the story a little bit. So I had to simplify things. So there's still a fill or room for a fill, but maybe not what I was initially thinking about playing. because that drummer part of me was trying to sneak in something a little clever or something that was, here's one for the drummers.
Right.
But that kind of yanked me out of the story. And it felt like I was trying to, put a square peg into a round hole. And I thought, I can't do that. And I don't want to do something, a little wink to the drummers there. And then every time I hear that for the rest of my life, I grimace.
Right.
So I had to change some things, simplify some things. And I think that works for the greater good of getting the song across, the story of the song across, and not yanking anybody out of the dream.
And having Taylor sing on Is Perfection, which, I feel like, for one, it's a great song to have her on. But how special is it to have Taylor singing on this project with you? Because singing on this project is different than having her sing on anything else you've been a part of.
Yeah, it was really great. I wish I could have utilized her even more, but the material that we came up with didn't really lend itself to either some sort of duet moment or more of a female energy in the sound. So that works perfectly in that song. I was really, really happy. She came out. She and she did her part. She's such a pro. She did her stuff in like 10 minutes, and okay, you're done. Boom. Really, really simple.
That's awesome.
But she and I actually did sort of a duet moment on her first record, Lullaby, and that was actually the first foray into me actually singing anything, which that was a total mistake. I went out there. We were working with Scott Bennett was my co-producer on that one, and I was going to have him sing it, and I just went in there and threw it down as a demo, these 4 lines on one of her songs, and the engineer and Taylor were putting their thumbs up in the air, and they said, "No, you just did it. That's done."
Oh.
So that was a really cool moment to have with her on that record. That was completely unexpected.
Yeah, and then having the record come out on your birthday as well, which is, the perfect birthday present right there. Was that just kind of like happy coincidence, or when it got closer to being done, was it like this could really actually happen and just kind of like a scheduling thing, or like was it like a conscious effort to really have it like line up that way?
Well, I actually have a long answer for that one.
Let's do it. When COVID-19 hit, the record was already mixed, mastered, manufactured, and en route to my house. And it originally had a May 30th release date. And when, the pandemic hit, I thought, well, I'm going to scrap this notion of releasing this record. I can't release it during a pandemic and economic uncertainty. Right.
And as a couple of weeks went by, I had a few different, musical close confidants say to me, you have this, it's done, and it's ready to go. Maybe people need entertainment now. Maybe people will actually have the time to sit and listen like never before, or certainly since the 60s or 70s where you put on the headphones and hold the record in your lap for the whole ride.
Right.
And I kept hearing that from various friends, and then Taylor started to change her tune on it, and sort of with a conflicted mind and heart, I made a little video, and I posted it on my socials saying, hey, I have this record, it's ready to go. Do I wait for brighter days, or do I, move full steam ahead here? Would you buy new music at a time like this? And the overwhelming 99.9% response was yes, release it now, full steam ahead. So I actually moved up the release date. I figured, well, let's move it up. What day in May would be interesting? Oh, well, there's my birthday. let's do it then, because 51 is pretty anticlimactic after 50. So that's the story of how it ended up being there, and I sort of forged ahead without any infrastructure or that part of the website built and ready to go. So it kept me sort of happily focused and busy for several weeks getting that together.
Yeah, and I have to agree with everybody on that. There's so much like just depression and just honestly anger right now, and just unhappiness with a lot of people that like music, even when there's no pandemic going, has been the one constant that keeps everybody sane and honestly alive in a lot of ways. And we need new music. We can't have concerts right now. So what else can we do? Listen to music, look for entertainment, something to keep our minds off of it and something to keep us happy and occupied. And bands that are releasing new music and artists releasing new music are just doing everybody a favor by giving us something to really just absorb and keep our minds busy with. And
and what you're saying there totally echoes the feedback and encouragement that I was getting, and I thought, my goodness, if this music lands to anyone at all and helps them during this time, then that's the greatest thing that I could do. That's the greatest thing I could share with people here. Putting pictures of my cat on Facebook is going to,
right.
If the music can connect with someone, even if 4 people like it, then it was worthwhile.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked about it in another interview I did. It's also another advantage for the artist, because there's so many times when bands or artists release new music and then they go to play it live right away, and fans don't necessarily know the material yet. They know songs they like, but they don't know the words yet, and they're still learning it and absorbing it and soaking it in. With releasing music in a pandemic, it gives the fans time to really get to know the songs and get to know the music and really fall in love with it on another level, so that when we're finally able to see it live, we know the new music, and it's good for the artist and it's good for the fan, because the concert will be even better then, because we know the new music. So I think it's a one of the few winning situations that we have right now is new music. And this record, one song that really stood out was The Damage, because it's different than every other song on the record. Was that something you wanted to do, was do one song that doesn't really fit the mold of the rest of the record, or did that just kind of come out when you sat down and started writing this stuff?
Well, I think what makes that one stand out is it's the most sort of upbeat, rocking song.
It's the heaviest song on the record. Yeah.
I mean, I think no two things are really alike on the record, and that's something that I'm really proud of. But this one stands out. It's just the way it happened. It's just the way it came out, and I knew that we had to have something that had a little bit of pep in its step, so the record wouldn't get too sleepy, even though I love mellow records, and those are some of my favorite records in the world.
Right.
But one reason why I put that over the top drum fill at the beginning of Damage, that goes into that Casio sounding drum machine, that was my one sarcastic little a moment of, well, here's one for the drummers. And I thought it was kind of cute how that sucks down into a little Casio drum machine for good effect. But actually Saturday I'm releasing a video for The Damage, and so that will be sort of the, not that there's singles these days, but at least there's some sort of visual that people can see and have a moment with.
Nice. And then the lyrical process of sitting down and actually writing lyrics for a song, was that a difficult process to get used to doing, or did it start difficult and kind of become easier as you went, or was it easy the whole time, or what was, because you wear a lot more hats with this project than you do in Styx and other projects that you've been a part of.
Yeah, I would say with Last Flight Home, that was most of the heavy lifting lyrically. I wrote on that.
Gotcha.
J.K. Harrison had done a lot of the heavy lifting on the other ones, where we would change lines together.
Gotcha.
The cool thing about working with a guy like him is he has a treasure trove of bits and nuggets and sections and ideas, and it's like walking through this scrapyard of all brand new, shiny, unused things, and going, I like this bit, like this is cool, or hey, let's slow this down, let's change the melody. So it was great working in a situation like that, where it wasn't just he and I looking at each other with blank stares. well, what do you got? I could walk through this treasure trove of ideas, and that's really how we worked.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Because I was definitely, aside from like I knew you could. I was positive you could sing, but like I said before at the beginning, the power of your vocals blew me away. But the lyrics were strong and just really good. There's so many things about this record that were impressive.
Thank you.
Definitely, man. You want to talk about some Styx stuff for a second?
Sure.
Okay. So I've listened to some interviews. Obviously, you guys are doing some writing and stuff like that. But can you look back on the mission, because that was your guys' first full original material record in a very long time. And looking back on it, how do you feel about how that record turned out now that we're a few years removed from it?
I'm still really proud of the work we did on that record. That was a moment of Tommy Shaw getting a lightning strike of inspiration after years of not recording really any new material. And I think that record still holds up. That was really lovingly done. Mm-hmm. And if life had continued in a normal fashion, and COVID-19 didn't hit, right, we'd be well into the second record. I was slated to record the drums for the upcoming Styx record in April in Nashville. Wow. So that will be waiting for us whenever the smoke clears, as well as a whole bunch of shows that will have to be made up and slid somewhere. So it's. This is probably going to be a lot longer than any of us would like, but mm-hmm. It's going to be glorious on the other side of this, and there's going to be a lot of things to look forward to and roll up our sleeves and get to work on, with both getting back to performing live and also working on this record where, I think this could very well top the mission in content. Nice. Very, very excited about the material, and that was one thing I was really disappointed. But besides the world going on a total halt, is I was all set to go. I was a racehorse at the lined up at the gates. Okay, and no.
So, with how well the mission was received, because, with bands that have been around as long as Styx, a lot of times fans don't really gravitate towards the new music, but fans loved that record, and the material went over great live, too, because I saw you guys here in Indy on that tour. It was very well received. That kind of add more fuel to the fire when it came to new Styx music there.
It was definitely a shot in the arm, I think, that we needed, and it was wonderful to see the record do so well. And, mm-hmm. I didn't read a bad review of the record. Yeah. And when the record comes out, you start combing through, because I was so excited about it. And I know that, the band has never been critics' darlings. The critics love to lambast the band. And, the fact that we came out with a concept record about a mission to Mars in 2017, and they couldn't cut it up, I think that speaks for the work. And that was the thing that delighted me the most about it, is because it's no music is for everyone, but it's good.
There's usually at least one negative review somewhere on a record somewhere, but I also feel like music journalism has really evolved in a lot of ways over the last even 5-10 years, let alone 20-30 years. And I feel like there's a lot more music journalists, even myself, who are more open-minded, and good music's good music, man. And if it's good, it's good. There wasn't anything bad to write about, So, it's I can't wait to hear that new record. But I wanted to ask, going back to Last Flight Home, when concerts are back, whenever that may be, first off, think about how that first concert's going to be for everybody, regardless of who it is. That's going to be awesome. But were there any plans to play any of this stuff live?
there weren't any plans for this record to exist in the first place. So to
Sure.
even entertain that notion
Sure.
is so far-fetched. I mean, I really have no, I have no plans to become a singing celebrity of any sort. So, I just kind of let things happen organically, and I found that works best for me. If I don't make plans and kind of let things happen, the best things happen that way. If I attempt to go after particular goals with this, sort of rolling up the sleeves and getting all serious about it, that's when things become difficult or problematic. So
good point.
I just will see what happens, but zero plans.